Hello, hello, and welcome to Keep Calm for Moms, where we talk about what it means to parent the next generation with grace and ease. I am Dr. Pamela Ellis, the education doctor, and I am CEO and founder of Compass College Advisory. So the results of our firm is that 95% of our students have been admitted to their top choice colleges, and the average scholarship is $75,000. Now, how do we do that, you may ask? And the way we do that is we have our proprietary framework called Keep Calm, and the CALM stands for College and Accelerated Leadership Methodology. Our 5 pillars are academic, social, financial, vocational, and cultural. And so we are partnering every day with busy moms to help their teen find a college that feels like home without overpaying. So I am thrilled to see you today because yesterday we talked about creating the college list. So that was part 1. And today is part 2, where I will continue talking about those important steps to take. So are you ready for this? Are you ready to hear some of those juicy steps that we're going to go through today? So please type in the chat. I want to hear from you. And so again, if you're just joining in, we're talking about how to create the college list. Now, let me tell you one thing about the college list. And that is the fact that it doesn't matter whether or not your teen has been applying to scholarships on their own or anything like that. It doesn't even matter what their grades are. Now, I know some of you want to hear this, or even their test scores, because when they have the right list, they can still get in, they can still get money for college, okay? And so that's why I really want to share with you how to create the right list for your teen, okay? And this is something that you're going to be doing with them because you may already have heard me say that your teen owns the process, right? Right? Yeah, they do. They do. And so with that, let's recap. Let's just kind of recap what was covered yesterday in terms of those first 3 steps. And I want you to be sure to go back and listen to part 1, just so that you can get all of the details around what's included in these 3 steps. So if you're ready, I want to make sure you have your pen and paper so that you can recap. And I know I've heard from a few of you about adding slides. And so I will definitely be adding those in for all of you who are visual learners as well. And quite frankly, I don't know how I missed that because I am too. So anyway, the first 3 steps that we covered, we talked about the first step is really around starting with why. And this is your teen actually saying, what's their why? And I'll just share with you just briefly, for one of my students, her why was preparing for a career, and how that translated in terms of what she did in high school was she was part of her marketing club, DECA, and some of you may have DECA at your high school, or perhaps your teen is participating in it. So she participated in that because she had an interest in doing business. So already, her activities resume was showing how she was going to contribute once she got to college. And then when it came time to apply to colleges, because she had that interest in her why was preparing for a career, she was also, looking at those colleges that offered a business program, those colleges that offered internships. And for this student, with having that right list of colleges that spoke to what her why was, not only was she admitted to all of the colleges where she had applied, but she had, multiple thousands of dollars in terms of scholarship money that she received from those colleges. And these were both public and private colleges. And she ended up going to college in the South and was able to even do a study abroad program because they had that, as part of their business school program, and also even to get internships for each of the summers that she was there during her undergraduate years. So that's what I'm talking about. And so if that's something that you want for your teen, please type yes, because I want to hear from you. And that's, probably something that they're very interested in terms of their why. So start with why. That's the first step. What is your teen's why? Because that's going to determine everything else in terms of what I have to share with you. The second step is going to be actually doing some initial search as far as, choosing those colleges that are going to meet with their why, that's going to match with their personality, that's going to match with all of those aspects of who they are and their interests. And so you can do this through a number of different online search tools that I mentioned to you. So again, I want you to go back to part 1 to get those. One of them that I mentioned was Naviance, and you may have that already at your school. And so that could be a way to do that search. So doing that search is the second step. And then the third step is going to be actually researching the colleges. And we talked about what research means. And it doesn't mean just going on the site, looking at the pictures, but it's really about going and getting some detailed information about those colleges. So that's going to be, really critical in terms of them getting a sense for which colleges are a good fit for them. Now, so those were the first 3. And so I'm going to now share the second 3, because we talked about it yesterday, that there are 10 steps that I want you to follow in terms of how to create this right list of colleges for your teen and how you can help them with doing that. And so the fourth step is going to be actually reviewing what you research. Now, that probably sounds just too easy, right? Too easy. But reviewing the research is really going to be an important mid-step to getting to step number 5. And so when I talk about reviewing the research, so it's actually looking at, okay, what were those things that your teen, found out and discovered about college A, and so there's going to be some particular data points, if you will, in terms of perhaps, the size of the student body. What was the faculty-student ratio? Those are some of the data points that they may have picked up when they were looking at this. Or if they were looking at the FISC guide, for example, then they probably came up with some points around comments from students. And so, as I'm going through this, I realize that, part of it is getting a little bit in the weeds. And so if you have a question, I invite you to type in your question. Let me hear from you in terms of how you're going along with this in terms of what I'm sharing. And so with that fourth step, though, that fourth step is actually going back through it and making sure that you're comparing it as far as this is what was learned from each one. So is that making sense? So if that's making sense to you, I want you to just type it in. Let me know yes or no is making sense as far as what I'm sharing. So that's the fourth step. And that's going to be so critical because a lot of times, and I can share with you one of my students from this recent class, when she was, then looking at them to say, oh, wow, in comparing what she had learned about each of those, she realized that, wow, this school doesn't have, what I thought they had. I mean, she had already known about that school. It was a brand name that she was familiar with and had heard about for years and years. But when it came time to looking at it in terms of the facts about it and understanding some of the details in terms of the course offerings for the major that she was interested in, it was just like, wow, this isn't quite what I thought it would be. And it's just like, yeah, you're right, it wasn't. And so this particular student was interested in doing psychology. And the thing about it is that some psychology courses, majors may have a heavy emphasis on statistics and math. And she really wasn't that student. She really wasn't that student. And so the kind of psychology she wanted to do was one that didn't have as much of that in terms of the need for, doing all of the additional statistics courses. And so just understanding that distinction made such a difference for her in terms of saying, yeah, I'm interested in this major, or no, this really isn't the major that I thought it would be. And certainly looking at that across the colleges. So how am I doing? Is this starting to kick in a little bit in terms of the importance of these distinctions? Yeah, okay. So the next step, the fifth step, because we've covered, if you're joining me right now, we're going through how to create the college list. And this is uber important for junior year because juniors are the ones who have all the power in terms of being able to, create that list that's going to support them with not only getting into their top choice colleges, but getting scholarships as well. Okay. And I had shared, at the outset for you, I had shared in terms of the results of my firm and the clients that we work with, 95% get into their top choice colleges, and the average scholarship is $75,000. And so the framework that I use is what helps with those results. And so what I'm sharing with you is just, how to get those same results in terms of helping your team develop their college list. Okay. So let's go to this fifth step. And I'm going to go to this fifth step to talk through it. Now, the fifth step, and this is critical in terms of, stepping through, going from, 3, 4. Number 5 is going to be removing colleges that are not a fit. Now, this one is so important because oftentimes, we may feel connected to a college as parents that we are, a little bit maybe too invested in. And so we don't want our team to remove that college. I had that situation, with one of my seniors right now because, mom really wants them to apply to this, uber selective college on the East Coast. And, the teen is like really not that interested because it really doesn't match for them. And so if I'm talking to you, if this is you, it's okay. It's okay. I get it. And so if you're, in that situation where you want your teen to apply to a place and they're not interested in it, I would say you really do want to lean a little bit more on the side of, having them own that. Okay. And so with that, you have to remove those colleges that are not a fit, because if it's not a fit, then that has a snowball effect in terms of getting in terms of getting scholarship money. And even if all of those things came together and they're there and they're not happy, what good is that? What good is that? And so I really encourage you and encourage your team to remove those colleges that are not a fit. And you can see that, in step, 4, when you're, in step 5, when you're, step 4, when you're laying it out to compare them, then, removing what doesn't fit, remove what doesn't fit. So again, if you're joining me now, I'm going through the steps for creating a college list. And it's so important for junior year, because in junior year, when your teen is creating their list, that's going to make all the difference in terms of a year later, when they are applying to colleges, where they end up getting in and where they end up getting money from. So is this making sense to you? I hope so. So please type it in. Yes, no. Let me know if this is making sense at all in terms of what I'm sharing. And if you have any questions, I invite you to please type it in the chat and let me know that this is making sense, or if you have a question about it, I want to hear from you. So the 6th step that I want to share with you, and I will get to the remaining 4 steps when we come into part 3 tomorrow, same time, same station. So the 6th step is going to be adding in those additional colleges. And so it's a repeat of a prior step, because you're going to add in, though, colleges that match the other colleges that remain on the list. Okay. So how does that sound? I hope that makes sense to you. But you're going to be adding in colleges that now match up with the results that were found in the first search. And so this is a process where you're building it up organically, and you're building it up from your team. When you do it that way, that's how you can pull together that list that's going to be a right fit for your team. All right. So I'm going to pause right there, because I know that I've been covering a lot in terms of what I shared. And for those of you, who have questions, please type it in the chat. I'd love to hear from you in terms of your questions, and really be able to support you in creating this list for your teen in a way that's going to make sense for them, and take away the stress that you may have on you to figure this all out for them. Because I can tell you now, if you finished college however many years ago, it's totally different now, And these steps for walking you through, guiding you on how to create this college list is really going to make all the difference in terms of releasing some of that stress that you may have around how to support your teen in this journey. So I'm going to pause right there. I'll come back for part 3. We'll do that tomorrow, the same time, noon Eastern. And in the meantime, I invite you to check out our college prep toolkit. That's available, and here is the link to get to that. And this toolkit has all of the different worksheets that I'm referring to around how to support your teen's success through junior year. And so junior year is so critical. And so I look forward to continuing the conversation tomorrow so that we can get more into finalizing how to create the right list. So I look forward to talking with you next time.